because we do have someone in the YouTube channel who, before the show started, asked if you could explain, I don't know why this is hard to understand, the difference between you sitting down and dialoguing with Yasser Qadi and Joel sitting down and dialoguing with Nick Fuentes. Could you perhaps bring some clarity to this for us, please?
First thing I would say is I don't want to address, because I can't address, the nature of the entire interaction, because it's going to be put out in 10 parts, and I don't know how long that's going to be, first of all. So anybody can go watch the 2 dialogues that Yasser Qadi and I did a number of years ago in Memphis, and we'll be doing another couple-hour dialogue in a suburb of Dallas on the 29th of January. I guess that's this month, isn't it? I'm going to be leaving soon. I got to get that into my thinking here. Anyway, I would invite anyone to compare whatever is going to come out, because I would love to hear Joel Webbons correcting Fuentes, because Fuentes has said such stupid, idiotic things about the Bible, Christianity, Protestantism, just moronic stuff, just third grade level stuff. You think that's going to come up in their conversation? Do you think Joel's going to bring that stuff up? Well, don't know. I ain't going to pay to watch it. So once it's out there, when we did those dialogues, we didn't put on Patreon and ask people to pay us to watch it. That's one difference right there. It was recorded and it was put on YouTube and it was made available to everybody. And we especially want people outside the United States to see it. And they're the people that were the most excited about it. They really, really were. It was 100% positive from outside the United States. Inside the United States, wholly different issue. But it is difficult for me to understand how anyone could even ask the question. I mean, I suppose if you didn't see the dialogues with Yasser Qadi and see how honest they were, and see how we did not sweep any differences under the rug, and we spoke with respect toward one another, and we did all of that kind of stuff, but we made it very clear in the first dialogue, this is what Yasser Qadi would want from me. He would want me to say the Shema, to submit to Islam, not the Shema. He would want me to submit to Islam. He would want me to submit to the Quran, to not believe what I believe any longer about Jesus being more than a prophet, and to not commit shirk, and to believe in Tawheed. And we defined all these things. And I said what I would want for him, that I would want him to come to know that Jesus Christ is not merely a prophet, but that he has eternally been God, that he's not the Father. And I defined what the gospel was. And I think Chris Wisenant posted what he had put together. I think somebody put together a number of years ago when this came up. He posted a video that walked through me doing all of that stuff, not only in that dialogue with Yasser Qadi, but in all the debates I've done with Muslims. Presenting the gospel and not sweeping anything under the rug and that kind of stuff. So then in the second dialogue at the mosque, I mean, Yasser Qadi is just asking, first of all, he tells, all of his people are sitting there on the ground. There aren't pews in mosques. They're sitting there, and he says, I've just never met any Christian minister that knows as much about Islam and has listened as carefully to my lessons. And then, having set me up to his people, he starts asking me questions. Christians believe that a part of God had to die. Why? He's not arguing. He's not debating. He lets me answer it and then go to the next question. And they were great questions. And there we are in the mosque. And I've told the story that afterwards, I had the opportunity of talking with a young lady, a young Muslim lady, came up to me. They had refreshments, just like the church had refreshments the night before. And this young lady comes up to me and she says, "Could I ask you a question?" Now that's a little unusual. Very often Muslim women won't approach a man in that way. But she did. She was in a beautiful burqa. Her face was not covered, but it was embroidered and it was very, very pretty. And here's the question she asked. And I would ask this question. I would say to a lot of people, how would you have responded? You're standing there with a big, soft, gooey chocolate chip cookie in your hand. You know, one of those guys, you know, that's just like 350 calories minimum right there. And it's the soft, gooey, oh, they're so good. I've got one of those in my hand. And she says, how do you respond to the influence that Emperor Constantine had upon the Council of Nicaea and its definition of Jesus being homoousios with the Father? Yeah, that was her question. She didn't read it. She just asked the question, clearly a university student. And a lot of my critics would not be able to answer that question off the top of their head, and probably wouldn't be able to answer that question if they had 2 hours to prepare. I did, because that's what I do. Teach church history, gave her 10 minutes on testimony of the deity of Christ prior to the Council of Nicaea, what really happened with Constantine, how many really bad stories there are running around on YouTube about Constantine. Referred her to my article in the CRI Journal from years ago, late 90s, as I recall, what really happened to the Council of Nicaea. And, but that was the kind of dialogue that was opened up. It was honest, forthright. Nobody was trying to do self-promotion. It was meant to open up more and more dialogue with the conviction from my side that when you can talk and present the Christian faith in that kind of a context with Muslims, you can trust the Holy Spirit to bless that. That's what we do. I do not believe that's what we're going to be seeing in this political discussion of America First and quote-unquote Christian nationalism, especially since this is Christless Christian nationalism. It's Christless Christian nationalism. Remember, we've talked about this before. These are the guys that all get together and say, no, you do not need regeneration. Now, Webbons once believed that. Webbons doesn't. Just keep something in mind. Ask yourself a question. What did Joel Webbons believe 5 years ago? What did the guys in Ogden believe 5 years ago? And what do they believe today? What did I believe 5 years ago, and what do I believe today? Who's consistent? Now, they're going to say, well, we've learned and we've grown. Okay, the point is, they're the ones that left. Okay, they're the ones that have gone someplace else, not us. We're still teaching and believing the things that we were teaching and believing back then. So, when I talk about Christless Christianity, I'm talking about the fact that a certain well-known author who has spoken at conferences with Webbons and the Ogden guys said yesterday on Twitter that his commitment for 2026 is to sacralism even harder. Okay? So Stephen Wolfe presents a Christian nationalism that does not require regeneration, does not require the Holy Spirit of God to change hearts and minds. So it's Christless Christian nationalism, which means it's just nationalism. So America First with nationalism, well, that's going to be the same thing. So they're going to find plenty in common. I'm going to assume, that Fuentes cleaned up his language a lot. I don't know if he was asked to or if he just recognized the context he was in. He always does dress nicely. I will give him credit. At least he knows how to tie a tie. But this is not going to be about the gospel. And I said on the last program, no one seemed to hear it or care. I said on the last program, I think it'd be wonderful if Fuentes was challenged on his, aberrant Roman Catholicism. I know many a good Roman Catholic that's embarrassed by the fact the man claims to be a Catholic. But that he would be challenged on his worldview, everything. the whole 9 yards. That would be wonderful. I don't think Joel Webbons any longer in the position to really do that very effectively, but that would be great. I'd like to see it happen. But I don't think that's what was laid out as the foundation of this. And so that was laid out as the foundation before my dialogues with Yasser Qadhi, during the dialogues, after the dialogues. We're sweeping nothing under the rug. This isn't a debate, but we are laying out what the major issues and differences are. And neither one of us is trying to get followers. Neither one of us is trying to get clicks. Neither one of us is trying to grow their brand. And that's what Joel Webbons is doing. It's just obvious. Anybody with eyes can see that. And so, simple nationalism, it's not Christian nationalism. It is just basic nationalism. Plus, America First is pretty much the same thing. And so I don't know exactly what's going to be accomplished by all that, but we'll find out. I certainly ain't going to rush to jump into it unless there's some major reason to do so. But the two are have completely different purposes. Mine is theological, evangelistic, encouraging Christians outside the United States in their witness to Muslims. That's not what any of this stuff is. So that would be the difference between those particular things. So, yeah.